Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Throwaway Life Skills, who says, my 23 female boyfriend, 24 male, wants to move in with me. I want him to live alone first. My boyfriend and I have been together 10 months. He lives with his parents, 50s male and female, and younger brothers, 10, 16, 18. No sisters. For current events, he was over at my place basically every night. A couple of nights ago, he said that he wants to move in with me, if I'm up for it. I've been to his place more than once, and I've seen how their dynamic works. His mother does everything for all 5 men in that house. Cooking, cleaning, the works. Basically, all they have to do is put their laundry away after she washes, dries, irons, and folds it. The reason the parents aren't forcing them to contribute is that this was the parents' agreement. He works, she stays at home, so she raises the kids / runs the household, and he pays for everything. With one of the clauses being that, as she's doing everything, there's no need to involve the boys. As a result, my boyfriend cannot do anything. I don't know how much of this is actual cluelessness and how much is him trying to get out of stuff, but he has told me, completely sincere, and I checked this with his mother, that he can't even fry an egg. Which is why, when my boyfriend suggested moving in together, I said I wanted him to live alone first. His plan was basically to go straight from his mother's house to my flat. I told him my hesitation, which is that he can't do chores. He then offered to pay more rent, 75%, in exchange for me doing all the chores. I said no. I don't want to be his mother or his maid. I want to be his girlfriend. Then I told him I wanted him to live alone, go from his mother's house to his own place, figure out how to do all the things he's never done for himself, learn some basic life skills, and then revisit us living together. This has caused a huge argument, biggest we've ever had. He's taken me saying he has no life skills as an insult, which it kind of was to be fair, and has basically said that clearly I don't want to live with him at all as I've pushed the moving in time back and I've only said we'd revisit after a few months of him living alone. And I did say revisit because I wanted to make sure he actually knew what he was doing and wouldn't immediately switch back to offering more rent for no chores. This was all a couple of nights ago, and he's just stopped talking to me. He's at his mum's, he's online, he's talking to mutual friends who have said he is responding. He just won't answer any of my calls or texts. He's told our friends what happened and they're all on his side, saying I was really mean and cruel. I love him, and I do want to live with him eventually. I just don't want to live with him if I'm doing everything, and the one thing I don't want is him paying extra for me to do all the housework. Is there some sort of compromise or some option I'm not seeing? What can I do to fix this? Absolutely not the arsehole for me in this situation. It was a whole bunch of red flags. I mean, I would be concerned in your position as well. The fact that you can't literally, fry an egg? And of course, we all have to start somewhere, right? But doesn't mean you have to live with it. But it was his counter offer that really jumped out to me. I'll pay more rent if you do everything. It kind of said everything that I needed to know in that moment. Just felt like he doesn't really want to learn the skills, he just wants to replace his mum with benefits. But after all this is done, instead of talking to you, he's thrown a tantrum and given you the silent treatment and then weaponized his friend group against you. Which again just said to me he's not mature enough to have an adult conversation about life skills, so he's got his friends to pressure you instead. And you asked at the end what compromise there was to be had. You've offered the compromise. Let him live alone, let him learn some basic life skills, and then you can go from there. But let's face it, he's told you he already doesn't want that. Gangster Napper says you don't need to fix anything. Your boyfriend needs to learn to take care of himself, or not just expect you to be mummy with benefits. If he's insulted that you said he had no life skills, he should go get some. How is he not wildly embarrassed to be 24 and not do his own laundry anyway? Opie says, he says when he was 17 and there was a possibility of him moving away for university, he asked his mum to show him the basics and she refused because that was her job. So I'd say the parents aren't blameless here. But for the most part, when I say, how can you not do X? He just shrugs and says, no one ever taught me. And if I say he should have learnt on his own or found a YouTube tutorial or something, he tells me to stop attacking him because not everyone had to be self-sufficient as a kid the way I did. I did like the exact opposite of his upbringing, where I basically took care of my mum from a young age. Gangster Napper replies saying, yeah, but he's not a kid anymore. He didn't learn when he was 17, but that's not an excuse for remaining ignorant 7 years later. Please see this for the red flag it is. Opie responded saying, yeah, I said to him that Google is free and some stuff he claims he can't do. Like loading the dishwasher is inexcusable, but he takes it as me attacking him. I know it's a red flag, and I don't want to be all I can change him because I know it never works, but it's the only issue I have with him. Gangster Napper replies again saying, it's the only issue you have with him because you haven't been together long enough to see where else this entitled fuckery leaks out. If you stay together and have kids, he's not going to know how to change their diapers or soothe them in the middle of the night. If his parents get sick, he won't know how to talk to their doctors or get paperwork together. If you buy a house, he'll never know how to fix it or get quotes from tradesmen or pay taxes. Do you want to be a single mum to your boyfriend? Ooh, that was a good comment. Another commenter says, how could I say this? Frying an egg and putting the clothing inside the washing machine. Not rocket science. Commenter replies to that saying, what gets me about the it's not rocket science thing is he's literally working towards a PhD in a science subject. He understands rocket science, but can't fry an egg. Lionel says it's not that he can't, he chooses not to. He can fucking Google it if it's so complex, but he hasn't. He literally does not want to learn. Sander Jellybeanie says, well, I may not understand rocket science, but I can fry an egg. Tempting offer, huh, Opie? Opie says, kinda. I mean, rocket science can bring home the bacon, but that's no good if you can't cook it. Commenter says, I don't know what your rent is, but let's say it's $1,300. This guy thought he could pay $325 each month for the luxury of a full-time maid who does all the cooking, cleaning, laundry, and home management. That's actually hilarious. Don't give in. You're 100% making the right call, not moving in with a man-child. Opie responds saying £600, so he'd be paying about £150 extra. Commenter replies saying, so he was going to pay you £150 to essentially be his full-time maid. Opie replies saying, and chef. Meekin says, unrelated, but where do you live and how big is your apartment? Just curious, as £600 a month is pretty damn good for living on your own. Opie says it's a 1-bedroom flat in East Anglia. It's not great to be honest, but I've lived in worse places. Commenter says, girl, I really feel for you, but I have 2 questions. Do you want to have the same dynamic as his parents? Do you like their agreement for yourself? Opie says no to both of those. I'm in the first year of my career and it's proved to be very high stress so far, and it's not going to get any easier. While paying less in expenses would be a bit of pressure off me. I couldn't do a full workday, come home and then do all the chores, and I'd rather split everything, expenses and chores 50-50, than have all the household work put on me. Commenter says, yeah, Google has been around his entire life, but he didn't have the initiative to look it up himself. I would have been excited about the prospect of living alone. Sounds like he's a piece of work. If you want to pick up after a man-child, go for it. It looks like he's not learning basic life skills anytime soon. 24 and can't do laundry. How does he tie his shoelaces? OP quotes that and says, I know this is meant to be a joke, but I've just realized he actually just never unties his shoes. It's only just hit me that I've never seen him tie them. They have laces, which are ties, but I've only seen him step in and step out without tying/untying. I swear he's 24, not 4. Commenter says you need a better boyfriend, and if your friends side with him, then you need better friends. Opie says I moved here a few years ago and met him at uni. We've been friends for a few years. Met when I was 18 and he was 19. My friend group and his friend group basically became one large group at some point. But they're all I have, to be honest. Sonju says, have you told your friends your side of what happened because your boyfriend could have skewed some details to make him more sympathetic? If not, then tell them your side and see what boyfriend actually said to see if he just lied for sympathy. If you have told them your side and they are still against you, then do what you want to do if you seek to keep your friendships or drop them. Opie said I did. They basically said I knew what I was signing up for. And then the conversation turned back to the laundry, and a commenter said, the basics. It's fucking laundry. What does he need explained? Opie said he couldn't work the buttons and didn't know where to put things, but it's laundry gel, so you just put it in with the clothes and there's an on and off and start button, so it really shouldn't have been that hard. The Opie came in with an update and said he'd called me and agreed to talk. He then basically said that he was never going to be willing to learn to do anything, and even suggested dividing up the chores. Then I do my half and he hire a maid to do his half. Suffice to say, this was something of a turn-off, and by the end of the conversation, we broke up. What? Commenter said, read the update. Sounds for the/your best, and good catch and response by you. Very, very mature. I'm curious though, is there any sort of cultural or religious aspect at play here? Opie says nope, we're from different cultures, so I checked, and neither of the cultures he's associated with have this as a typical way of life. Lena says, eesh girl, it sounds like he feels these tasks are beneath him, and his shitty parents taught him that by never requiring him to do chores. Wow, what is this, the 50s? How did you even date him? Opie says we were friends first, and I didn't find out until a few months in. Lesson learned though. Miss Design Diva says, damn, that's just sad. Good on you, OP, for breaking up with him. Honestly, I blame not just him, but his parents too. They've raised a set of boys who have 0% skills to do anything around the home, and eventually that's going to come back to bite them. Opie says, yeah, I honestly think if he lived alone for a little while, he'd have to figure this stuff out for himself without his parents intervening. Same for his brothers, but looks like he's going to go from his actual mother's house to living with a girlfriend/wife who is willing to be his mother. My word, I can't help but think of what that guy's future looks like. If he does manage to get a partner of some sort that will put up with this shit, that is just wild, isn't it? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from the Bad Roommates subreddit, titled Extremely Torn on Whether I Should Get My Roommate's Mum Kicked Out. Me and 3 other girls live on an on-campus apartment-style dorm. We all have our own bedrooms and there are 2 bathrooms. One of the main characters in question, let's call her Eve, I share a kitchen and living space with her, is one of the roommates and is also international. All of my roommates had a group chat over the summer where we barely texted, but used the group chat as a means to communicate just in case. I just want to throw that out there. Last Saturday I moved in and opened the dorm door for the first time. I noticed Eve and her mum cooking in the dorm kitchen. I introduced myself and continued to get the rest of my stuff from the car and proceeded with the move-in process. I noticed that Eve's mum is wearing pajama bottoms. I did not give it much thought as people now sport PJs like they're the new jeans. I do not have a meal plan and want to avoid spending money on fast food, so during move-in I bought a decent amount of groceries to cook food for whenever I'm hungry. One other roommate, not Eve, also moved in, but she only took up one cabinet. I opened the other cabinets and noticed that nearly every one is filled with Eve's stuff. Her mum sees that I clearly look annoyed, so she decides to shift some of her daughter's stuff into the other cabinets. The fridge is also jam-packed with Eve's food. Surely she could not have a meal plan, so out of curiosity I ask. To my surprise, she indeed does have a meal plan, and she says that she lives in the dining hall. When I go to open up the pantry closet, it's filled with Eve's messenger bags and shoes. Yes, shoes. After I move my suitcases in and put my food away in whatever nooks I could find, I go to sleep as I am tired because I'd been up very early that day doing last-minute shopping and packing. I wake up the next day, Sunday, and I see that Eve's mum is making a cup of tea in the kitchen. I'm a bit confused as to why she hadn't gone to a hotel or flown back to her home country. I thought she would have gone by Sunday as classes start Monday, but fast forward to today, an entire week later. Eve's mum is living with us. She eats, cooks, showers, and sleeps here. Whenever I come back from class to make myself something to eat, she emerges from their room to ask if she can cook my food for me. Eve didn't think it was important to tell us. She did not say a word regarding her mum living with us in the dorm. Here's why I'm conflicted. Eve's mum is very nice. She cleans, even washes my plate sometimes. She offers us the food she cooks, and is, as mentioned, an overall nice person. However, there are little micro annoyances like her constantly cooking for hours. I'm talking like 9 a.m. to 10 p.m, hogging up the fridge space. In fact, she just did another shopping spree and my food is buried in the back, not allowing me to cook alone. I personally hate whenever other people are in the kitchen with me, and most of all not verifying with her daughter that we were okay with her stay. Furthermore to why I'm torn on asking her to leave is because I remember her telling me how expensive groceries are for her. So that makes me wonder, what if she can't afford a hotel room? If I told an RA, then she'd be on the streets because of me. Having a parent stay in the dorm obviously isn't allowed. My roommate is fine with the mum stay, so I don't want to be the only one complaining. If I told an RA, she'd be gone ASAP. However, there would be tension in the air. I'm conflicted and I don't know what to do. Sorry for the typos and grammatical errors. I'm typing this at 3 a.m. A commenter says to OP, ask her what's the deal with her mum. It's crazy to move your mum into your dorm and think you don't need to discuss it with your roommates first. Has nobody else in the dorms noticed her going in and out without groceries? How does she get in and out? Are your dorms not secure? Also, your roommate is likely to be put out as well since she's violating the terms of her occupancy. Hopefully they won't apply that to all of you. OP says magically, whenever there's another large grocery transfer, the other girls are in their rooms, and I doubt that they care about the fridge situation since I never see them cook. They also are extremely nonchalant and chill, like one of the girls has to not only share a living room and kitchen, but also a bathroom with Eve's mum, and seems content. As for other students seeing her move in the large amount of groceries, they probably don't think much of it since parents drop off groceries for their students all the time. Mine does on the weekends sometimes too. I'm excessively typing at the moment, but maybe they do think it's weird that she's doing all this on a Monday or Tuesday, and not like a weekend when most parents don't have work. She gets in and out by not leaving the dorm until her daughter returns. During the weekday, she's seriously here all day. If she needs to get out to get something like water, she'll prop the door open. Commenter says, are you sure that is her mother and not an aunt or servant that has travelled with Eve to take care of her as an international student? Either way, she should not be there and Eve should be more mindful of your needs. OP says it's certainly her mum. Commenter says, have you tried to talk to your other roommates and Eve about her mum being there to find out why her mum is there? Or try to find out why she is there first? If you tell on her and she is kicked out and has to go to a dangerous situation and Eve loses her mum because you told, i.e. domestic violence, you wouldn't forgive yourself. So try a conversation first. If you don't agree with the answer you receive, then tell after you thought about it, as if it were your mum. Good luck. OP says, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but a bit too much blame is being placed on me. It all stems from Eve and her not thinking that it would be smart for her to inform us that her mum would be living with us. None of this is my issue, but I will have a conversation first. Look, OP's pointed out that Eve's mum sounds lovely. She's cleaning, cooking, being generally nice, but she's basically become the fifth flatmate without anyone else getting a vote, and simply that's just not on. In the end, being kind doesn't give you squatting rights. Her mum could be absolutely perfect in every way, but it still doesn't give you that right. You've got someone there who's not supposed to be there, taking up space, dominating the kitchen for, 13 hours a day? And making it impossible for you to just exist normally in your own space. That's wild. And the fact that Eve didn't even mention this in the group chat over summer tells you everything. She knew it was dodgy, so she went in with the easier to ask for forgiveness than permission route. Except she didn't even ask for permission, the cheeky sod. She just hoped you'd all be too polite to say anything, and I think that's exactly what's happening at the moment. And you can talk to Eve first and find out if there was some kind of genuine emergency. I still struggle to see how that makes it right, and if it goes nowhere, you just escalate this on the end. You're not putting them on the streets. They chose to put themselves in that position by breaking the rules. That's on them, not you. You're not a bad person for wanting to live in the accommodation you're paying for. But OP did come in with an update and says, note, I wrote this back in late September. It came 4 months later after the original post. I thought it would be fine until it wasn't. Each day I realized more and more how little respect and thought the mum and daughter, my roommate Eva, had for me and my two other roommates. Some of the things that really pushed me into making the decision I did was the brother situation. I'm unsure if I mentioned this in the original post, but they also have a brother/son who goes to college in the States. The same state, but it's in a city roughly an hour and 30 minutes away. They would bring him over unannounced, but when he was over, you knew he was over because of his loud, deep voice. One Sunday at 9 a.m., I was awakened out of my sleep by the sound of his loud voice walking through the door. This was extremely frustrating to me because on the weekends I like to sleep for a very long time because I have 8 a.m. classes all throughout the week. That was one of the moments I was like, yeah, no. You first of all do not say anything or text anybody that this man is going to be coming and can basically pop up at any time, which is personally extremely uncomfortable for me. The next was the fridge situation. The mum had a major shopping issue. I think this was rooted in the fact that she had to be bored staying in this dorm all day. She continued to go on these massive grocery shopping sprees and would fill the fridge up to the point where you had to manually push the fridge door to close. There was literally no place for my roommates and I to put our food, to the point where one of my other roommates bought a personal mini fridge. This was another strike. I don't want to go into all the things she did because that'd be me ranting at this point, but I'll briefly mention two more. The mum prohibited me from making a quick lunch in my 2-hour gap between by hogging up the kitchen to make her grand meals. Like, imagine wanting to make yourself something quick to eat, but you can't because all 4 stove burners are being used. This was also a big no. Then leaving the door open for the mum to get in and out also made me feel unsafe, so that was another realized big no. All of these factors and other in addition to the combination of reading those Reddit comments, I realized that I do not have to deal with any of this. As much as I tried to tell myself it's okay, if I find myself complaining, then it's truly not okay. I did not feel the need to talk to my roommate about her mum because it couldn't be more obvious that the mum was fully planning on staying the entire semester. Plus, why should I have to do this when there is literally someone who gets paid to handle the situation? So what I did was this. I emailed and privately messaged the RA weekend all that this was happening. She then thanked me for letting her know, and then she forwarded the message to her supervisor. I did this weekend, but I went in hopes that when I came back, the smoke cleared. Unfortunately, when I came back, the mum was still there. However, the next day, when I quickly went into the kitchen to grab something, I saw suitcases packed. The mum was leaving. Fast forward to December. Eve clearly has a chip on her shoulder towards me and the other roommates. Me and one of the other roommates had gotten to talk more since I wrote this, and she let me know that the RA told her that we all would have gotten in trouble because we're all breaking the rules by letting the mum stay, so luckily I said something. Unbeknownst to me, she was also deeply uncomfortable with sharing a bathroom. Also, Eve's mum was apparently disgusting in the bathroom with the mum, and that Eve never told her anything prior besides move-in day, where Eve just said like, "Oh, by the way, my mum is here." And that Eve was actually planning on allowing her brother to sleep on the couch to have near daily sleepovers. She was going to do that, of course, without anyone's permission. Long read, but thank you all for the advice. It really emboldened and justified me reaching out to the RA. Merry Christmas. Absolutely, you did the right thing in the end by reporting this. That was only going to get worse. I mean, the brother sounded like he was going to be moving in at some point as well. The absolute cheeky so-and-sos. I couldn't get over the point about 4 burners going at the same time as well. It's like, bloody hell. What is she actually making every day? I just kind of pictured OP coming back from a long day studying or whatever, opening the door and this like long banquet table full of like chickens and all sorts on there, you know, like some sort of medieval feast. And there was loads of comments below this one talking about, you know, boyfriends and girlfriends moving into their dorms, which, you know, we've seen stories in the past of that kind of thing. And it seems to be, I don't know if it's a common occurrence, but it happens frequently. I think this is the first time we've ever seen a mother moving into a dorm. Holy moly. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Gazump and says, "My 42 male, wife 32 female, for 3 years is meeting up with some guy I don't know. Throwaway, sorry. She knows my Reddit name. My wife joined the gym recently. She's not overweight and hasn't mentioned wanting to join before, but then a few months ago she said she'd fancied it and off she went. Anyway, recently I noticed a guy regularly liking her Facebook comments. Not just the odd one, but lots of them. I've never heard of him before, and I know most of her Facebook friends. I was using her phone the other day and her Facebook was left on. I'm not a snooper, it's just not my style, but a message popped up from the same guy and I opened it. All of their previous private conversations came up. Same time tomorrow, with a little kiss on the end. I'll pick you up around 4, with a little kiss on the end, etc. I didn't know what to think. There's no sexualized talk, although each sentence ends with a kiss, and she's never mentioned him before. Why would she not? I don't know what to do next. Friggy McNasty says, when is she meeting up with him next, and where does it say they're meeting up? Edit, yeah, it would seem really suspicious. Where is your wife now? Opie says, I can't get back on her Facebook. I don't know the password. I'm not sure when and where they were meeting, but I got the impression she was picking him up from his house. I don't really monitor her movements, so wouldn't know where she was supposed to be. Probably the gym. She's been going there a lot. Somewhat Smart says, what did she tell you she was doing at that time? Opie says she didn't tell me anything out of the ordinary that I can remember. I'm guessing the gym because she's been going there a lot. And the deleted user says go with her. Tell her you want to work out with her and get yourself in better shape. See what response you get to this line of reasoning. So a couple of days later, Opie came in and says, I didn't want to ask her outright, so I took some of the advice I had on here and went to the gym after she got changed and went. She wasn't there. She isn't even a member. The thing is, she's acting so normal. She seems happy, pleased to spend time with me. Sex is as good and as regular as ever. Anyway, next time she goes, I'm going to ask to come with her, just as she's getting into the car. TLDR, she wasn't at the gym, not even a member. So people in the comments were like, did you go to the right gym? Don't jump to conclusions yet. Her behavior towards you is really positive, and you still have nothing concrete despite the doomsday guys of Reddit. I agree, go with her, but find a reason to. Strangle Kelp says, just say you want to join the gym too, and spend time with her there. After that, it's all fairly straightforward. Friggy McNasty says, this. The next time she wants to go to the gym, tag along with her. If she gives you shit, ask her what's wrong with you going. A good reason to go is that you want to get in shape. Do a little cardio, maybe increase some muscle mass, etc. Just you want to go and speak with her personal trainer. Maybe go to the gym as a couple. Opie then edits and says thanks for the advice. I know it may sound silly, but I just don't sense anything bad. Perhaps I'm being naive, but you're right, it does seem suspicious. I don't know what to think. I might speak to a lawyer. I'll see what happens tomorrow. Then it was a day after that update. Opie said, final update. Today's conclusion. I read all the comments and I must say you had me convinced that she was cheating. I know most suggested spending money on lawyers, GPS, private investigators and stuff, but I needed to know for myself, so I stuck with the original plan. As she was getting into the car, I came out and said, hang on, I'm coming too. I've been thinking about losing weight and you don't want to be married to a fat fuck like me. She laughed and said, don't be daft, you're not fat, but it will be brill if you join too. Then we can do sauna and stuff. So we set off in a completely different direction of the gym. I asked her about the local gym and she laughed again and said, how much money do you think we have? Apparently the gym near us is really expensive. Then the best bit, she then pulls over and out of this house comes this guy, Steve, built like a boxer, and climbs into the car and another slightly smaller. As soon as they get in, all my worries disappear. This was Steve, pronounced, I don't even know how to pronounce that, as camp as they come, and then proceeded to flirt with me. The other guy was his boyfriend. When we got home later, I asked her about him on Facebook and she said, if I said I'd emptied the bin, he'd like it. Then I showed her the Reddit post and she laughed and said, why didn't you just ask me who he was? And then she laughed again when she read I went to the wrong gym. She said some unflattering things about 1 or 2 messages, but I don't care. All is well. TLDR, wrong gym, gay dude. Edit, I'm a little overwhelmed by the massive response this got. I thought there were just a few people following the story. My gut feeling was that there was nothing wrong because everything else just seemed so normal, like I said in the first post. I feel a bit bad and a bit daft about checking up and misleading her, but she just found it funny. We don't normally go into detail about who we are with and where we are going. I play football and she's probably met 2 of my friends and would have no idea who I collect in my car when I go. She doesn't hang out with him. They attend the same box fit class and sometimes she's picked him up en route. Anyway, that's it. I can go back to using my proper account now. Thanks everyone, including the ones who tried to convince me I was practically divorced and broke. An unexpectedly wholesome story in the end, and I'm glad that the wife didn't get too upset in the end of this. There's a few comments in this finding the story a bit weird, that he doesn't know where his wife is, that she went to the gym, etc. Other people questioning other things as usual, right? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.